All right, everyone, get ready because today we're going deep on a topic that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. We're talking cyborgs, people. But here's the catch. It's not as far-fetched as you might think. We're going to explore whether becoming a cyborg will lead us to a utopian future or a dystopian nightmare. And trust me, the research is seriously mind-blowing.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, we used to think of cyborgs as characters in movies, right? But now, the line between fiction and reality is getting seriously blurry. It really begs the question, what does it even mean to be human in a world where we're basically becoming one with machines?
It's a great question. And the funny thing is, we might already be cyborgs without even realizing it. We don't always think of it this way, but something as common as a pacemaker is essentially a mini computer keeping someone alive.
That's so true. And think about prosthetic limbs, too. We've got technology merging seamlessly with the human body, and it's been changing lives for years. And those advancements are only getting more sophisticated every day.
Speaking of sophisticated, this next one totally blew my mind when I was reading about it. So there are companies like Neuralink out there, and they're working on brain-computer interfaces. Just imagine a world where we could treat things like Parkinson's disease or paralysis just like that.
It's pretty incredible to think about, and it gets even crazier, honestly. The research actually talks about the potential for downloading information directly into our brains. You could learn a new language in a few minutes or become an expert in astrophysics overnight. We're talking about unlocking a whole new level of human potential.
Whoa, hold on. Imagine acing those college exams, right? But seriously, it really makes you wonder, how would our education system even function in a world like that? Would traditional schools even exist anymore? It's like something straight out of the Matrix.
It's a wild thought experiment for sure. And it's not just about our brains either, you know? There are advancements happening with prosthetics that would make even the most talented athletes jealous. The research actually mentioned a new prosthetic arm that allows pianists to play with more nuance and precision than they ever could before.
Okay, now that's just awesome. It feels like we're on the verge of a world without limits, which leads us to the idea of a technological utopia. A utopia where we're free from disease and disability, where we live longer and healthier lives, and where human potential is basically limitless. It's a pretty appealing vision, right?
I mean, it's hard to argue with, isn't it? The research really does paint a picture of a future where we've overcome so many of the limitations we face today. Imagine a world without Alzheimer's disease, where paralysis is a thing of the past. A world where our senses are heightened to levels we can barely even comprehend right now.
Sign me up for that upgrade. It all sounds pretty amazing on the surface, but then you have to stop and ask yourself, is it really a utopia if only a select few actually get to experience it? Like, what about everyone else?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's something the research brought up as a major concern. These advancements, as amazing as they could be, also have the potential to make existing inequalities even worse.
It's almost like a sci-fi dystopia in the making.
Exactly. Imagine a world where the wealthy can just buy themselves enhanced intelligence or a longer lifespan, while everyone else is left behind. That's not a recipe for a perfect society. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, talk about a recipe for some serious social unrest. You'd have these two distinct classes of humans, the technologically enhanced elite and then everyone else.
Exactly. And it's not even just about access to the technology itself.
Yeah.
We also have to think about control. If our minds are connected to machines, how can we be sure our thoughts won't become targets for manipulation?
Okay, now that's a thought that sends chills down my spine. Corporations influencing our desires, governments monitoring our every thought.
It's a very real concern.
It's given me some serious Black Mirror vibes.
And the research even touches on the idea of our bodies and minds basically becoming commodities.
Imagine having to pay a subscription fee just to use your own cybernetic arm.
Or even worse, having it repossessed because you missed a payment or something.
That's terrifying. It makes you question what it even means to be human in a world like that. If our memories, emotions, even our physical capabilities are all controlled by technology, are we really in control of our own destinies anymore?
It's a really profound question, and it's one we need to grapple with. One thing the research really delved into is the role of emotions in all of this. Like, what if we could just flip a switch and turn off negative emotions like sadness or fear?
That sounds pretty tempting on the surface, I have to admit.
Right.
But then again, those emotions, even the negative ones, are part of what makes us human.
Exactly. They're what connect us to each other. They drive our creativity, our empathy. Imagine a world without art, music, literature, All of those things are born from human emotion.
That's such a good point.
And honestly, even little fear can be a good thing. It keeps us grounded, helps us make safer choices.
Absolutely. Without a little healthy fear, I think we'd all be living life on the edge a little too much. But it's not just our inner world, our emotions and thoughts, that are at stake here. This technology could completely transform our relationship with our physical selves, too. I mean, we experience the world through our physical bodies, right? The joy of movement, the comfort of touch, even pain, as unpleasant as it can be, is a reminder that we're alive. It makes you wonder, are we risking losing that vital connection to our physical selves as we become more and more reliant on technology to experience the world?
It's a really important thing to consider. And, the research actually talks about the potential impact of virtual reality on this. Imagine a future where we can essentially escape into these hyper-realistic digital worlds, where our senses are constantly being stimulated in ways they never could be in the real world.
I can see the appeal for sure.
Right. It sounds amazing in theory, but could it end up disconnecting us from physical reality?
It's like that old saying, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. We're wired to move, to explore, to experience the world firsthand. I do wonder if we'd be sacrificing something essential to what makes us human if we retreat too far into a digital existence.
It's a valid concern, and it kind of brings us to what might be the biggest question of all. The research definitely didn't shy away from the singularity.
Okay, here we go.
That moment when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence. It's a concept that sparks a lot of debate and imagination, for good reason, I think.
It's a mind-blowing thing to think about. Would we even be able to wrap our heads around a world reshaped by AI that's smarter than us? And what would that even look like, really? Would we try to merge with it just to keep up, even if it meant giving up some of our own individuality?
It's pretty wild, right? And the research delves into both the incredible possibilities and the potential risks that come with that level of technological advancement. On the one hand, merging with AI could unlock these unimaginable capabilities for us, pushing the boundaries of human intelligence and ability beyond anything we can even comprehend right now.
It's like the ultimate upgrade for humanity.
Exactly. But on the other hand, and this is the scary part, we risk losing our autonomy, like becoming absorbed into some kind of hive mind, where individual thought and free will are basically non-existent.
Okay, yeah, that definitely throws a wrench in the utopia idea. It's a lot to process, to be honest.
It really is. And it all circles back to something we've been talking about, this idea that the future isn't predetermined. It's being shaped by the choices we make right now.
That's a powerful thought.
The research really emphasizes that we aren't just along for the ride when it comes to technology and its impact on our lives. We're the ones behind the wheel.
That's both incredibly empowering and, honestly, a little terrifying at the same time, isn't it? So, knowing what we know, how do we navigate all of this? How can we be sure we're creating a future where technology actually enhances our humanity instead of slowly erasing it?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And to be fair, the research doesn't claim to have all the answers. No one does, really. But it does drive home one crucial message: the absolute necessity of conscious evolution as we move forward with all of this.
What do you mean by that?
We have to approach these incredible technological advancements with both excitement and caution, considering both the potential benefits and the very real risks before we take that next step.
So we're not saying no to progress. We're saying we need to be mindful and intentional about the future we're creating with it.
100%. And that's a conversation that needs to include all of us: scientists, policymakers, ethicists, even artists. We all have a role to play in making sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of cyborgs. And wow, what a journey this has been. We've gone from mind-blowing medical advancements to the potential pitfalls of a technology-driven future. We even touched on the singularity, which is still blowing my mind, to be honest. If you're anything like me, your head is probably buzzing with all sorts of possibilities and questions right now.
It's definitely a lot to digest, to say the least. If there's one thing I really hope you take away from all of this, is this: the future of humanity in a world of increasingly sophisticated technology is still being written. It's not set in stone. And you, our amazing listener, have a voice in how that story unfolds.
Beautifully said. Stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, never stop asking those big, important questions. And on that note, until next time, happy diving, everyone.